meeting with me today, Michelle.
You're welcome.
I have noticed that you have been a big part of this parish, and you have extended yourself out to the community by helping out whoever you can, which you have already done, not just with the community, but with political officials. But you also attend the council meetings and participate in helping to resolve issues, and have proven you have an extensive knowledge and experience in Plaquemines Parish. So what made you decide to run for sheriff?
Well, after 10 years of helping the community and being there for those who needed me and who have actually sought my help, I saw that our problems in the community were increasing. Numbers in domestic violence, drugs, underage drinking. Since the storm, people have lost their homes, their livelihoods. Our economy is not quite the same. So when these problems started intensifying, I realized that instead of just attending the meetings and being that backdoor help where, you know, I kind of didn't work for the parish, but I tried to help out who I could, I decided that I would run for office and try and help as much as I could and save as many lives as I could after seeing that the direction that our country's going in and that our parish is going in, especially after Katrina. We've had one disaster after another. We've had Katrina, we've had Gustav, we've had Isaac, we had the oil spill. All of these have piggybacked one on the other, and our community's not getting any better.
Right.
We've lost lives to drugs, to accidents. There's no need for it. I mean, we know that things are going to happen, but the amount that domestic violence, drugs, and underage drinking have multiplied since 2013, it's twice as bad as it was in 2013. It's multiplied 100 times each year. And if we keep on this rate, we'll have senseless deaths. It needs to stop.
Sure.
So I decided I would run for sheriff.
Okay. So what experience do you have that you feel is relevant to becoming sheriff of Plaquemines Parish?
Well, most people, the question I get a lot is, were you a street cop? No, I was not a street cop. I didn't wear a gun and a badge and work for a department. What I did in 2005 was I started doing investigations because I was asked to do them. I was very good at watching the money come in from the different programs that were here to help people rebuild, and for some reason it never got to the entities that it was going to. It was something that interested me, so I was asked by 2 parishes outside of Plaquemines to help in those investigations. As I did that and the investigations grew, there were things that were happening in Plaquemines as well that we weren't aware of, and it kind of brought everything together. So after years of doing that, I was asked to do some undercover work, and through that I finished my law enforcement degree, which I had started back in LSU. When my kids were little, I didn't want to carry a gun and a badge and work those awkward hours. I wanted to be home with them, so I did that. But I kept the investigations going, and I did it always because I felt like I could help, and that's what I did. So doing that, I finished my law enforcement degree, and through business administration, I've also been an assistant manager at some of the different companies. I also managed 5 different campaigns, which all dealt with huge budgets, lots of people, paid people and volunteers as well, and being able to run those campaigns for the sheriff, for the parish president, a judge, and a state representative. I have dealt with many different entities that I can handle a sheriff's office.
Good. Thank you. So what problems do you see as the greatest needs for our sheriff's office to improve our parish?
Domestic violence, underage drinking, and the drugs, without a doubt. They all go hand in hand. The kids seem to get alcohol earlier and earlier, not just in junior high. I'm talking grammar school now. The drugs are happening earlier, and the domestic violence has increased from just spousal and girlfriend abuse to we have men who are being abused now, we have children, we have families that have come together with children from different marriages, and it's expanding. And as it expands, people turn to drugs and alcohol to tune out the domestic violence. If we don't stop this now and we do something, and I mean very proactive, we need a facility, we need to just have teams of people with counselors working on this, people who are specialized in this area to deal with the kids and families, not only with the drugs and domestic violence, but with that, but also to carry them through. It's sort of like cancer. You just don't treat it and it goes away. this is something that we have to follow from start to finish and give support all the way through, or you're going to keep having repeat offenders. We don't need that. Our
Right.
community doesn't need it. So this is very important to me, that we stop. If we're going to spend money to incarcerate people and keep them in jail later on, why
Sure.
not spend the money now to educate, rehabilitate, and reform, so that way they don't become repeat offenders?
Yes.
So we can better our community. And the only way we're going to do that is to focus on those areas that are the hardest hit in our parish.
That's great. Good idea. Do you know what the statistics are in regards to those specific issues as far as arrests?
No. The reason that I don't know is because the statistics on those issues for the last 4 years have not been accurate. And not blaming it on any one particular person or entity, as a whole, as a country, we can see where that direction's leading with the statistics. But when you break it down by state and by parish, it depends on what the entity reports. We don't have an accurate record. There are people that I know who have been in trouble for things, who may have been stopped and may have been arrested, but because of the political ingenuity in this parish, certain people are not on those reports. So therefore, I cannot get an accurate count. Now, I did put in public records requests and ask for those. I would receive what they would give me as the statistics. However, in the mail within 3 days, I would get an anonymous statistics letter from someone that knew that I was asking with different statistics on it. And that's proven. That's on my website. This is something that I cannot make up. So what I did was I went back and I took the statistics from when Sheriff Hingle was in office to when Sheriff Greco has been in office. And we know, as a parish and as a country and as a state, we've multiplied, those statistics have increased by 100%.
Yes.
Yet ours shows that they've went down. Being that said, I'm not sure that the information that the public is given is accurate. So therefore, I can't give you a true and fact number. What I have studied and what I've looked at doesn't make any sense to me on how it could possibly go from 100% increase to just the parish being, everything's going down. When I know for a fact, we've had deaths that related to drugs, drunk driving. All of these things are increased because we know, we see it on social media, everyone's being buried. This one died of this. So why aren't those included in the Sheriff's Office reports and statistics? I'm not quite sure. But I know they will be with mine. That I can promise you, because it will decrease. I mean, if I can save one person's life, that is my goal.
Yes.
And it needs to be done.
Right. It's the key to rebuilding. So, Sheriff Hingle started to rebuild the Plaquemines Parish Prison. What steps will you make to complete this process?
Well, everybody always talked about that being the white elephant, and everybody had everything negative to say about Sheriff Hingle. And I will tell you, he is and was and still is a very good person. He had no say-so in what he rebuilt. When FEMA funds a certain project, you have to rebuild with the money they give you in the same position in the same location of where you were the first time. So they don't say, oh, well, how much do you need? They give you that FEMA grant, and then you have to rebuild for that amount. So whatever was allowed for that prison, that money is free and clear for us. So he rebuilt it. Well, when he rebuilt it, Sheriff Hingle had every intention of filling that prison, because you do that, the other parishes in our state do not have the same state-of-the-art facility that we have. So you go and you bid for these prisoners to come here and talk to the other sheriffs about having them here, as well as federal prisoners. You get $55 a day for federal and $22.36 a day for state. Just say if we had 100 of each, that's going to give us a revenue of $327,000 a month from the Department of Justice. That alone is just straight revenue. But we never got that opportunity. And so then we had the next election, and the incoming Sheriff Greco, we talked about this during the campaign, and we were going to do the same thing. We went to 32 parishes out of the 63 in the state and talked to all of the sheriffs about having the prisoners down here, working a co-op with them on the program with agriculture and the whole 9 yards. And then that went awry. He said he didn't want to fool with the prison. So it just sat there, which doesn't cost us anything out of our pocket, because yes, the facility is paid for, but you still have electricity, water, all of your monthly bills that you have to pay. You can't do that with only 70 prisoners or however many they have in there, which I'm not really sure. But my goal is not to look at what's been wrong. My goal was to stay focused and go forward. And so for the last 4 years, I have been working and talking to other parishes about my running for sheriff and about how to get these prisoners to come into our parish so that way we can be self-sufficient. The money that we're going to get from the Department of Justice on each prisoner is free and clear for us.
Yes.
So once we have those amount of prisoners, it's just like a business. You have to go out and you have to tell people what you have here to offer. And one of the things that their biggest concern was, well, you're outside of levee protection. Well, so is North Louisiana. I mean, one of their prisons flooded not too long ago in Alexandria.
Right.
With the okay, so while you're saying that, our levees around Point LaHash, where the prison is, they're 17.5 feet around there. We're going to have to evacuate no matter what. So that is not an issue. FEMA's not going to say, okay, let's go ahead and build right here, rebuild, but then you can't use it because you're not protected by levees. They're going to have to be evacuated as well.
Yes.
Louisiana, we're along the coast. New Orleans is a Sioux. We've known this for how long?
Yes.
So you take the precautions and you do that, but you don't not run a business because of that.
Right.
You know, we have a great opportunity to build up the East Bank by having the prison over there. And I'm very excited about the work that I've done the last 4 years in talking about the prison and trying to get these things in order. And it's going to create wonderful jobs for our people on the East Bank. And it should be. And
Right.
maybe we'll get the chance that we really need to build back up, because I don't think anybody's ever given the East Bank and down the road the chance to do that. I am.
Sure.
That's what I've been fighting for the last 8 years.
Yes.
So that's my goal.
Nice. Well, one more question for you. As sheriff, how will you handle enforcing the law without affecting an individual's civil rights, as we've seen around the country?
Well, first and foremost, my deputies, my administration will not violate anyone's civil rights within the guidelines of the law, because I will not tolerate a police officer to treat anyone that they pull over for any reason and violate their civil rights and treat them like a criminal, as I have seen done in the past. It's unacceptable. There is no reason that a deputy should pull anyone over and beat them or push them or have any kind of violence or even talk to them in a disrespectful way. The whole conflict of being stopped hinges on how you approach the problem. And I don't see, and I've been through many trainings and watched, if you ever notice when a state trooper pulls someone over, they don't disrespect the person they're pulling over.
No.
It doesn't happen.
No.
But as people have been pulled over in this parish and the stories that I've heard, they're not very nice stories. So my officers will treat people with respect while protecting themselves. But I can promise you, if anybody, any of my deputies, violates anyone's civil rights to the degree of what I have watched and studied for the last 7 years that's been going on in this country, they will not have a job.
Yes.
End of story. It's unacceptable. If you want to be treated with respect, you give respect.
Right.
And they need the proper training to do that.
Right.
And that's the way it is. And I will not violate anyone's civil rights. This is the very thing that I've been fighting for the last 8 years. There's a way to do everything. And it's the way that you handle it, the way that you approach it, and the way that you continue to handle it. I'm not talking about somebody who's violent and is shooting a gun out the car at someone else that you have to go up and say, oh, that's not what I'm talking about. But I have seen people being pulled over, people who have lived here for 70 years, been put in handcuffs because they have a light out. I'm sorry, that's unacceptable. And that will not happen. Not on my watch. Not at all. So to me, you have to have the leader who is willing to go the distance to make sure that civil rights are not violated, and I am that person.
Yes.
I mean, it's just the way it is. So if they want their job and they want to be able to keep their job, then they have to learn how to act with respect, following the law, and to protect themselves. And I don't think that's that difficult. That's part of your oath as a police officer.
Yes.
And they need
Not
to,
abusing that
and they
authority.
need to follow it, and they will follow it. This is not kindergarten.
Yes.
This is grown-up stuff, and you should know how to act. And if you don't, I have no use for you. And it's just the way it is. And it may sound harsh, but I love my parish. I love the people here. My job is to protect them. My job is to make sure that they are protected from outside forces. And in doing that, my deputies will act with respect and within the guidelines of the law on people's civil rights. And there is no other explanation. That's what it'll be.
Okay,
So,
good.
and I think I don't think that's asking a whole lot.
No, it isn't. It's very basic.
It is very basic, something that they need to be taught. Now they have to they have to do continuing education every 6 months. The way that they treat people should be incorporated in that every 6 months. And I will make sure that it is done
Excellent
by
idea.
all of the deputies. So,
Good.
that is my goal.
Well, good luck.
Thank you.
We hope to see you as sheriff.
Thank you. I think we will. I hope we will. And I think that my heart, I think people are seeing that it's a lot more than just signs and T-shirts. It's about the work that I've tried to do for the last 8 years, and way before I decided to run for sheriff. And I think that it goes a long way with people. And I care about the parish. I didn't do it for a job. I didn't do it for any other reason, but that's just the way that I was raised. And I want to continue that as sheriff, and I think I can make a difference.
Yes.
So, thank you for asking. I appreciate that.
Well, thanks for your time today.
Thank you.
Good luck to you.
Thank you.